Stuff of Nightmares, No Holiday for Murder is a graphic novel by R.L. Stine. It's meant for adults and teenagers. There's a lot of blood and violence. Like, I would love to show you some of the pictures from this graphic novel. I thought they were good, but YouTube won't let me show them because they're just way too violent, too much graphic violence in this. I feel like that was the whole idea, because it's a graphic novel. They could go all out with the blood and the violence and the murder. It doesn't have other stuff like swearing or adult situations. No, it's just violence and murder, and they're both basically serial killer stories. There are two stories in this collection. This collection has two different stories, and they're basically serial killer movies, which they could easily be made in the horror movies. It's about this one guy who goes around killing a bunch of people, basically. But because it doesn't have to worry about special effects budget, it can really go out with all the blood and murders. So the first one is called Red Murder, and it's about this comic strip hero, a villainous superhero called Red Murder, who basically kills people with an axe and drinks their blood, and that's the superhero. I felt like that in itself probably could have made for an interesting horror movie where the serial killer is a superhero with a taste for murder. I know they've a lot of serial killer movies are basically superhero movies anyway. Like, it's really, really hard to kill the serial killer, and the serial killer like moves at inhuman speed while chasing down people in the woods and killing them. So I felt like if it had gone in that direction, it would have been kind of cool. And the other direction that I was told it was going to go in was this, like, oh, she wants to meet this girl wants to meet the guy who came up with her favorite superhero character, but he ends up being a bit of a creep. And that's not exactly the story. That's not where the story went either. So where the story does go is that, they're having a big convention for this popular murder superhero. It's the 20th anniversary, so we've got the original comic artist, we've got the actor who plays him in the movies, and I feel like we could have used a third suspect because it's sort of played as a mystery that somebody's just wandering around killing a bunch of people at this convention. And it's like, who did it? Who's the killer? And will the original artist ever get justice for the fact that other people stole this? It means a lot to him. He created Red Murder sort of like as a satire, but people took it for real, and he was trying to help his brother Dale, but no, like the billions of dollars, none of it went to him. It all went to these greedy corporate overlords. And so, like, plot twists, we've got those two characters. They are built up as our two suspects for the murder mystery. And I feel like we could have used a third suspect because I thought it was really easy to guess which one of them is the actual murder. But the big chunk of the story, like besides going into like their tragic backstories, is basically just murder, and then more murder, which is fine. I thought it was okay. It's very gruesome, indeed. And that's probably what they wanted. But I do wish the story had gone in one of the other directions, like an actual superhero is on the loose being a serial killer. I thought that would have been cool. And then also the one where, like, the comic book, the creator of the comic book just, like, stalks this girl who's a big fan and is creepy and evil to her. Like, that could have been another horror story, too. So I did like the second one better. It's called Sleigh Ride, which is basically serial killer Santa Claus, which I know that's been done in horror movies before. And it does the typical, like, Christmas murder movie route where all of the kills seem to be based on Christmas. So, like, somebody gets killed with a Christmas tree, somebody gets killed with a candy cane, that sort of thing. I did like the twist that Santa's, instead of having reindeer, he has these evil rats And so he just dumps rabid rats on people. One person, he just dumps the bag on the guy's head and he gets his face chewed off, and oh, so gross. Yeah. And like that's, oh, yeah, it's creepy. I did like the scenes of just kind of going into how crazy evil and just messed up this Santa serial killer is. I like those better than the actual murders. So the story is this guy, he's a big fan of being Santa, and something inside him just snaps when he's fired. So he kills his boss, and then he ends up, he kills his boss, he like terrorizes random people, and then he just tries to cover up the murder of his boss by going after the police officers that are trying to capture him. And they're having a hard time capturing him because everybody in town is dressed like Santa Claus because it's Christmas Eve. And there's kind of a subplot where he wants to rob a bunch of houses on Christmas Eve while disguised as Santa. And that's how the Grinch stole Christmas. That is the plot of how the Grinch stole Christmas. Maybe a little bit of Home Alone as well, where with the wet bandits robbing houses during Christmas time because they expect it's really easy, nobody's in town. And yeah, so I didn't like that as much, but I did just like, this guy is really creepy and scary. So I guess that's how I feel about the book in general. Creepy, scary. You want to see R.L. Stine do something a bit more mature and basically serial killery. This is it. You want to see, yeah, superhero. It's kind of weird to say superhero because it doesn't look like the superhero has any powers. It just seems to be a guy with an axe who's murdering people. And did it have to necessarily be a superhero? I don't think so. I think the story would have been just sort of the same, even if it wasn't tied to a superhero. But now it just made me think. It's like, oh, superhero serial killer. We could have had that. Whereas the other is the more generic storyline of Santa goes crazy and murders a bunch of people. But I thought that was the more entertaining one, just because I thought he was really creepy in and of himself. Like that was just creepy. Going, I mean, okay, he's not the most psychologically complex, dark, deep dive into how this guy works in horror movie history, but I still thought it was good. So, just recapping, the first one, basically the highlights are the murder, all the bloody murder, whereas the second one, the highlight is the serial killer. I thought the serial killer was more interesting, but they're both pretty much serial killer stories. So that is Stuff of Nightmares, No Holiday for Murder. I think they're going to release a second volume with 2 more stories. So I'll have to keep an eye out for that because this is good enough. I want to check out other books in this series. Also, I guess I could show this character on the back. But this is the narrator for the series who makes a bunch of bad puns about murder and stuff like that. And that was fine. I know there's a Goosebumps series where Slappy does that. Slappy's sort of like this narrator who comments occasionally. So, okay. Thanks for watching my review. Bye.